Fire! Bridgin the Gap, episode 23, part 2. Yo, live from Dubai, UAE. First of its kind. I'm here with my OG, my coach from high school, mentor, family, now business partner here in UAE.
None of that. None of that. As this moment, none of that, man. Like, man.
Jupac is here today. If you guys are here for return visitors, our return listeners, our family, you guys know that we have a basketball brand called Hoopmountain.ae. You guys can follow us at Hoopmountain.ae, Hoopmountain.ae for all your basketball needs, basketball wants, everything and anything. We do training, all that good stuff. Here building a basketball culture. Our OG is here. You guys can see, he's a little frustrated. We've been in the studio for a little while now, talking and going through some stuff.
No, it wasn't a little while, man. It was like an hour and 15 minutes.
It was 45.
How are we almost done with the episode and you don't push record?
I don't know. It's been
you know what time?
It's been a rough night. It's been a rough week, man. It's been a rough week. But thankfully we had studio time to bounce back and get through it. We didn't get through any of the topics though. That first 45 minutes is really us just talking about a bunch of basketball stuff that, wasn't set on the docket too much. But we here now. We here now. We got some time. I'll let you lead it off a little bit. You gotta get something off your chest, man. I know you got to. What you say?
Man, let's get to it, man. Y'all gonna catch me. Y'all gonna see me walking out this joint. Come on, man.
All right. First, quick basketball breakdown. Really the only thing that matters is the playoff, the NBA playoff thing, and then Russ being supposedly the best top 3-point guards ever and better than Allen Iverson, per Kendrick Perkins and Scott Brooks, so to speak. First, let me say, going in as a Laker fan, I'm worried. I'm worried about what AD is going to bring for us so that we can repeat. I know what LeBron got already, but I'm not sure if AD got all the tools we need to make it happen. It's looking a little iffy right now. We'll see. And right now we're looking like we may play in that play-in game. And I'm not sure just yet if we cut out for it. And I'm watching AD alone to see what happens because I know what Bron is going to do.
That's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I'm saying you mentioned like 2 or 3 more other things.
We're gonna get to those next. So we're gonna get to Bron and AD, the Lakers.
Let's have some structure, man. I'm gonna be floating all over the place. I know, man. The Lakers. You're worried about AD now.
Yes.
Last year when I was talking about, man, he's got to play better. I know he's got a double-double and everything, but he's got to play better. That game was too close because he wasn't the best player on the floor. He's the matchup nightmare for them. You were like, he's good. He's having a great game. Now you're worried about him.
Yeah, because it's different now, right? He got out of that losing mentality, that losing franchise. He's won. He's got to sit with LeBron, a proven champion, and go through the process to see what it takes. So now he not only knows better, he's seen better, and he's done better. So now it's that point to where he has to elevate his game, right? He chose to go to LA. Mm-hmm. He fought through everything to get traded there, knowing that that's the home of Wilt, Mike, and Kareem. That's Shaq, 4 of the greatest big men ever. So if you go there as a big, you follow behind in their footsteps. So now you got to prove. You got to show and prove. It's only one way it works in LA. So now it's like, all right, it's no more on LeBron because LeBron's career is set in stone. He's done his thing. right? So AD, what are you going to do for us lately? Now I'm saying he doesn't have any excuse at all. None at all. Because you wiped off that Pelican stain that you had, right? The stench was still on you, as Pusha T said. But now it's out of there. So I'm looking to see what he does. LeBron doesn't like the playoff format, but I know, like you said, it holds everybody accountable in the league.
Yeah, no more just letting young players sit out, for minor nicks and bruises and things like that, and resting their legs. I know it's 82 games, whatever, but the technology they have nowadays, the comfort that they have in terms of how they travel, they don't have many back-to-back games anymore. I mean, you're under the age of 30 and you didn't come straight out of high school. You don't need to be sitting out.
Word. But, I think that's going to also control all the tanking too.
For sure.
The teams losing games on purpose and trying to get a lottery pick. But it also keeps everybody entertained. Because that first game now, Steph and the Warriors, they weren't looking too good all year. Now that bottom 7, 8, 9, 10 seed, it's going to be worth watching, whatever it is that happens, right? Like potentially you could see Steph and the Lakers playing first round in one of those play-in games or something like that. So you got Bron and Steph in the play-in game. One game for everything.
That's must-see TV right there.
Man, that's the NBA making their product more valuable.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if Steph gets hot with the month of April that he had recently, it could be over. One game situation.
Yeah. Steph's different. And Steph is something we've talked about in previous episodes. We've said that it was going to be interesting to see how he does this year without all that extra help. I have some people who are still wanting to hear our full take on that. And I said we'll give that full take after the first round, after the playoffs, so we can really delve into it because, there's a lot of variables. Steph, because he's changing the game with his shooting, there are a lot of things that people overlook on purpose that a lot of other people don't get that privilege of. So, somebody got to point it out. Steve Kerr as well, I know you as a coach, you want to see what Steve Kerr can really do because you've seen if you got KD and Clay and Steph and Draymond and Livingston,
the best bench in basketball at that time.
Yeah, what would you do?
Yeah, well, we saw it with Luke Walton, and Luke Walton turned it into a $25 million contract.
Right. Speaking, and Luke's still coaching.
Yeah.
He's still coaching because of what he did with that little bit of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So now, as you said, let me see what you do when your dogs are gone.
Right. But make no mistake, even though they are fighting for a play-in spot, they have enough talent on that team with Steph and Clay to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no excuse now. You got a coach that won 6 or 7 championships as a player, being around 2 Hall of Fame coaches, actually, and being around numerous GOATs, because Steve Kerr's played with the best. We're talking about Spurs, Bulls, everybody. And then you're talking about unanimous MVP, back-to-back MVPs, right?
Yeah.
Steph, the greatest shooter of all time, people say. And then Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year, candidate every year, high IQ guy, and probably top 5 in terms of versatility in the league,
mm-hmm.
Now that he's back healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're talking about probably the second best rookie or third best rookie, because my man from Minnesota is a dog.
Yeah.
And we all know, we ain't even talking about Melo.
Yeah.
But Wiseman's probably 3 or 4
mm-hmm.
in 6'9", 6'10", with the skill set that, not many people have before he got injured. And Pascal from Villanova is tough.
Yeah.
And then, Looney and those guys played key parts in those championship runs. Yeah. So they have enough. Oh my, I'm not going to forget Andrew Wiggins.
You can forget him. You can for sure forget him.
I'm not going to forget Wiggins. I mean, we all know he's labeled as soft, but he has an NBA talent.
Yes, for sure.
We're talking about NBA talent where he's 18 to 20 points a game, even with being a little lethargic in his play. he has the potential to be a guy that can be 24, 25 points a game.
People have one with less, basically. People have one with lot less. A lot less.
Sure. You got Steph and Dre. I mean, you got a chance.
Wait, and you coach of the year formally, right?
Yep.
You've been that guy. So, you got to show me.
Yeah.
But, we'll get back to that because that Curry is probably going to take us a good part of an episode. That might be 45 minutes of just talking about that and breaking that down on its own, right?
Yeah.
But, first of all, Melo, shout out to Melo. Top 10 all time in scoring. 18 months not in the league. League said you're done. Said modern basketball is no good for you. You're out. You can't adjust. Your game is not here. One of the best scorers we've ever seen. Bounced back. And now he's just made his way in the top 10 and probably will be top 9, top 8 by the end of the season. Gangster.
Yeah. Without sitting out those 18 months, he could be even higher than that. Just why is he out 18 months? Everybody asks. Copycat league being run by guys with analytics.
Yes.
That's just bottom line.
Yes.
Old school game, mid-range pull-up game, ISO post game, ISO elbow area game, 2-3 dribble pull-up game. Doesn't really fit our style. Doesn't really fit the NBA. That's what these guys are saying. Yeah. Now it's either a tray ball or a run to the rim. And, we all know that however you score is how you score.
Yeah.
Get it how you can get it. And he's one of the best to do it at his position. And, those guys, they gave him the label that he doesn't fit, today's NBA and no one gave him a chance. And so you're talking about 30 teams passed up on him.
Yeah.
18, we're talking about with what he has done in the NBA, and he still had some gas left in the tank. Out of the league for 18 months.
Yeah.
Somebody should be fired.
Yeah. And you talk about people stealing money all the time. They steal money all the time. But Melo, gangster, so you lethal. You can be out of the NBA, come back in, and you just got the same flow and everything, adjusting and all that good stuff. But this is something that irked me. Kendrick Perkins said that Russ was better than Allen Iverson. That Russ had a better career than Allen Iverson. The answer, that's his name, the answer. I think you told me that Kobe, and God bless Kobe, and MJ said, we all lucky he wasn't 6'6".
Yeah, they said it, trust me, there's a lot of other people in the league that said it too. You're talking about somebody being 6 foot barely, 165 pounds soaking wet, and people actually feared him.
Yeah.
Feared him. Playing in probably the roughest era of NBA basketball where there was no easy runs to the rim. There's no getting all the way to the basket and not getting touched. Because bigs back then, big guards, big threes, love to put wood on you. And AI
pause.
AI spent a lot of time getting up off the floor.
Yes.
And thank God he was a All-American high school football player that kind of prepared him for some of that. But still, the abuse he took and the amount of production he had coming out of that small frame in a city that is known for being very harsh to its athletes. If you don't play hard, you don't play with heart, you don't produce, they loved him, embraced him. And
he never had a tab in that city.
For sure. I know about that. And he led a franchise without another superstar, without a current star on his team. People are going to say Mutombo, but
Mutombo was why.
Mutombo was old back then,
Yeah.
And he took those guys to the finals.
Yeah.
To the finals.
And stole a game.
Against
a Laker team that's arguably one of the best ever.
Yep.
Period. And you talk about Russ being able to play with KD, Harden twice, Paul George, and now Bradley Beal. There's dynamic guys. Like KD's one of the best ever, right? Harden will be up there too, top 20 or whatever else there is to be. Like, and Bill is paving his way now. Like, those are dynamic guys. Like, AI had to carry an entire franchise by himself.
Yeah, it's no comparison. Even go beyond KD and those guys. You talk about Cephalosha, one of the top defensive guards in the league. You talk about Ibaka back then.
Yeah.
You talk about Steven Adams.
Yeah.
Those guys are solid pros that would start anywhere else. And just the amount of the workload is just different.
It's like
different.
It's different in that space.
And Russ is, we talked about the other night, we talked about our top 5 athletic point guards of all time. He's in that mix, because he's got great size and athleticism. But AI is a 2 guard.
Yeah.
We talk about the great 2 guards, MJ, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, those guys, George Gervin, those guys. We talking about 6'6" and up. AI is 6 foot, man.
6 foot.
6 foot.
6 foot. And what's funny too, when I think about AI and then I think about Russ just had 24 assists, 21 rebounds and stuff. But Russ also, and I think DC fans are starting to learn this too, because my guy is one. Russ makes some of the most bonehead plays. Like, you're talking about IQ. Like, Russ makes some plays that has everybody looking to the side both ways. Like, yo, did he really just do that? Like, why is he taking that shot with Kevin Durant over there? Why is he doing that at this point in the game? Why is he making that pass? Like, that's when you talk about the greatest of all time, when you get into that space, certain things you can't do if you want to be in that conversation.
I said this from day one, and I'll continue to say it as long as he plays. One of Russ's biggest problems is that he's really a 2 guard.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets caught in between getting somebody set up or getting a bucket, because he can get to the rack whenever he wants. And so that's why he's had so many issues where people say it's just a complete bonehead play, but it's him. His wiring is different. In actuality, I've said this before. What if OKC would have said, you know what? Reggie Jackson, you run the 1. Russ, you just run the 2. KD run the 3.
Mm-hmm.
We might be talking about Russ in a different space.
Or James Harden run the 1,
right,
like you're doing in Brooklyn.
Right.
And let Kyrie run off the ball and it'd be
just think about just letting Russ, don't worry about, just get a bucket and play defense. We could be talking about him being a top 5 2 guard.
And he can still get all these triple-double numbers in that space. Right?
Yep.
Still, just because
it'd be less turnovers though.
Way less, because you have the ball in your hand less to make those decisions. Yep. But, that's interesting when people make that breakdown. I mean, they even talked about Russ being top 2. Scott Brooks said this. Top point guard of all time, only behind Magic Johnson. Yeah. And you know how we take things like that personal, because we got CP3 love over here. We CP3 fans, so
come on, man.
It's so disrespectful for you to say something like that.
Just look at the point guards, man. Like, we're talking about Magic, Zeke, Stockton.
Stockton got a lot of assists.
J Kidd. We talking Gary Payton, CP3, my man Kuzi. We talking about Pistol. Come on, man.
Yeah. Of all time.
True point guards.
And CP3 is different. And when we talk about people that get disrespected between CP3 and Melo, it's a different level of disrespect.
Yeah.
CP3, even to this day, is not getting the love he has. The Suns are number 1 in the West.
Right.
Number 1 in the West.
Wherever he goes, they instantly win.
OKC last year?
Yep. Instantly win.
OKC right now is one of the worst teams in the NBA.
Yep. They're just...
I mean, man, CP3, the greatest.
Yeah. People say, well, he's a little too harsh, he's a little too abrasive. He's a winner.
Yeah, it works.
He's a winner.
It works. Yeah. That's how that happens. CP3 are always going to get love over here. But what keeps CP3, because even, talking about him, Bron, Melo, they're kind of defying what it looks like, or redefining what it looks like to be aging in the league, right? They don't show any signs of slowing down, regressing, anything like that. They're still effective, highly effective. And I would attribute a lot of that to their basketball IQ, right? And making adjustments and, changing the way that they approach the game off the court, training wise and all those other different type things. But, basketball IQ, right? Because we talk about it every few episodes, talk about it all day in training and everything else. But as a coach, when you look at a player with a high basketball IQ, what does that do for their game?
Well, it only takes one or two trips down the floor for you to recognize the players on the court with high IQ. And those are the players that make the right play most of the time. Everybody's going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, but you're going to attempt, even when you make a mistake, a coach can see what you were trying to do. It may not have worked out for you, but you're trying to make the play, and you're not always making the right play, but you're making the next play ahead. You're thinking ahead 2 plays ahead, And so the thing is, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, so you never put yourself in bad situations, is one thing. 2, knowing your teammates, knowing who you play with, knowing who can catch what type of pass, knowing where someone likes to get the ball in their sweet spots to make them successful, knowing who's a gambler on defense and things like that. So, you got to sag off your man and give him a little extra help, knowing who's a little soft in the post, knowing who is showing bad body language. And you say, I got to get big fella a touch, just certain things like that. Those are things that you accumulate by being a student of the game, being in the game for a long time and just picking up things as you go. And also, some people are just natural born leaders. Yeah. Some things you can't explain, but basketball IQ can be a wide range of things. But for sure, as you get older, your basketball IQ can save you and preserve a few extra years for sure.
Yes. I mean, you talked about that spider web story, right? And even today we watch you play. And I know I've seen you when you were really trying to get busy, right? And at least in that post career thing, but you was still
my sweatsuit on. That's always laugh at.
Yeah, and I see you now too, and listening to the spiderweb story. Like, you pick your spot so much better, right? Like, even within knowing your body, be like, I can't give it that much now. I'm gonna do it a little bit later, or I'm gonna catch it off. I seen he'd been hedging over here too hard. I'm gonna get him on a quick one here and there. But like, watching that and then listen to the spiderweb story, like, I'm talking about being able to play until you're 50.
Yep.
That's all because of up top, right? And most people don't think that basketball is a game that you have to think, right? Our kids learn this, start learning it quickly. Yep. When they get into the gym and they were like, oh, basketball is no problem. It's easy. We can do this. And we're just teaching them gradually, jump stop, dribble left hand, right hand, pivot, pass. And now when we're making them do it at a high speed with other people around and people trying to, dictate their movement, they're like, I'm frustrated.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Different ball game. You got to use your feet, you got to use your hands, you got to use everything in that combination. You got to be able to think, you got to be tough because it's a physical game, you got to be in shape. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, and that IQ, man, just, I remember Steve Kerr and Draymond talking about LeBron going over a play that happened early in the game, 2 games prior and things like that. That's just being a student of the game, man.
Yeah.
And just picking up things and being comfortable in the process of playing basketball. And you can't manufacture that stuff and pass it on to every player. You got to be willing to do that stuff. You got to be willing to put your ego aside and talk to some older players and even talk to the young players and pick up things from them. Mm-hmm. You see CP3's game. If CP3 wasn't who he is now, we'd be like, yo, he could be rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And what's funny is CP3 deciding to go to Phoenix alone is a high basketball IQ move, right? Mm-hmm. Talking about knowing the young guys. Who Phoenix got over there? Oh, they got D-Book. It's a dynamic 2 guard. He already averaging 28. Playing with me, I can get him some easy ones.
Now he can get an easy 28.
Easy 21. I know he already a dog a little bit, so I put him there. I don't got to worry. Oh, and you got a big that's young and athletic. He just needs to be put together. And I know what I bring. Like,
and number one, you have a player's coach.
Coach, yes.
Coach. I need Tuesday. Coach, I need Tuesday off. All right. That coach understands that. And so it was a bold move by him because he could have gone somewhere where it was a layup to the playoffs. Right. But he went somewhere that was a little challenging. And
right. When I think of IQ too, I think about like players being interchangeable. Right? Like you always have those people that understand each play at each position. So if I'm playing a 2 guard to start the game, somebody gets in foul trouble. You like, Yates, you got to move to the 4. If you got to do that. But giving coach that ammo to be able to do it because look, you're paying attention to all 3 or 4 different things on the court. So now you also on the other end of the court, you better defensively, right? Yeah. And you see those things translate off the court as well.
Yeah. Should we get down to the real nitty gritty right now?
Call it.
No, I mean between us.
Yeah,
what's going on? Because I'm losing my voice from a long day of screaming, teach defense. I see you losing your voice a little bit. We getting fatigued. Why are we so fatigued right now?
I didn't press the record button.
No, say that again.
I didn't press the record.
Say that one more time.
I didn't press record.
One more again.
Yeah.
You didn't press record.
I didn't.
And just so you guys know, we were so far. We were so close. So close to being done.
No, man.
Yeah. Not that we don't like being here and talk. It's just that.
Yeah. It's already been a long day.
It's been a long day.
It was fun, but it ain't. We here though. We knocking it out.
Shut up, man. Yeah.
I take it on the chin. I had some smoke for you too. I'm just gonna save it for next week and put it back in there. We ain't done yet though, but that one was the high IQ thing is something that I noticed after our Hoopstar shootout this week.
How many guys would you say in the shootout in the older group would have some form of high IQ, considering where they are right now?
0. Right. Look, and it's not our fault, right? Because one of the things that helps with high IQ is being able to watch basketball. Like they only get to see basketball when they see us.
Right.
And then the other 23 hours of the day or whatever else in the week, they're just doing God knows what else, right? Because now it's like you just threw the basketball to your teammate who's standing in the middle of the floor with 5 defenders around them, and you threw it to them, and you were like, did it stop? Did you think that, man, okay, what am I going to do right now? Is this making any sense at all?
Hey, I know that feeling, man. I did the same thing as a freshman in college.
Oh,
I can hear Coach right now. What were you thinking?
What was it though? Was it the pressure? The speed of the game was different?
No, just no IQ. None. I played basketball every single day, worked on my game. But when you don't know exactly what to work on all the time, we talked about this before, having a coach that would have a vision for where you would be later on in your career and allow you to work on some of those things outside of the team. When I say work on your game outside of the team, when you're with your team, you work on things that help your team be successful. When you're outside of the team, you work on things to help you grow as an individual player. Because, in high school, I fluctuated from point guard, shooting guard, small forward to even center one year based on who, graduated or what have you, but didn't spend a lot of time on the basics of ball handling and things, making decisions and things like that. It was just get a bucket, And
so you was Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, basically. Just
you had Russ bounce though?
I had bounce. I had bounce for sure.
You had the Sean Kemp fade though.
More like Big Daddy. Big Daddy had the box. You know what I'm saying?
Did you have the Dookie chain?
No, come on, man. I did wear a lot of Paisley stuff.
On the bus listening to Anita Baker on the speaker.
but you know, so you gotta you gotta be able to, you know what you're working on. You know, our guys, you know, we can tell them to go do things, but if we don't specifically write it down,
yeah,
they don't know because they're not in the game of basketball every day. We get them twice a week.
Yeah,
you know,
and luckily for our kids, they do have an excuse. But even back home, you know, I just got on the phone with one of my guys, and he talked about how, you know, he's my age, maybe a year younger, and he was like, "Yo, these kids gonna have me graying real soon." Graying real soon, right? Like, just thinking, like, part of it is because now this is the flip side. I'm going to sound crazy. Maybe they're watching too much, right? They're watching too much highlights, too much Steph, right? So now when they're going out to play, shooting long tray balls, trying to get a highlight, too much dribbling in one spot or whatever. So that's the flip side of watching too much and not watching enough. But all you need to be doing is watching what is good, what's important, watching the right thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or maybe even having somebody around to give you that. You know, maybe we need to start that. Call it King's Court Vision. And we start, you know, breaking down like on some, like your boy LeVar Burton type reading rainbow thing before basketball. Right. And giving it to where kids can learn through basketball, watching the game, but now watch it, like we always say, through a different eye. Because, man, you know, it's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah. It's funny you said watching too many highlights and then watching Steph. And some people take that as a slight to Steph, but it's not. Because what Coach is saying is that kids will watch Steph and see how spectacular he is, and they see where he's shooting from, and he's got a quick trigger, but people don't really know how he got to that point.
Yeah.
People don't know all the work that he put in with his father, who was one of the all-time great shooters, teaching him the right mechanics and putting him in situations where this is how you're going to get better. You know, and you know, Steph wasn't running around at 11 years old hoisting up threes. You know,
no,
he was shooting selective shots, man, quality shots. You know, we got guys now 8 moves, 9 moves before they take a shot. They didn't go anywhere. You know, that's bad basketball.
Can't make a layup.
Can't make a layup.
Right. Like, you know, you talk about finishing around the rim.
Right.
That's important, right? You get into the teeth of the defense, you can do so much.
Right.
You know, drawing fouls, you know what I'm saying? Attention, so you can create open shots for other people, but you're not a threat down there because you can't finish, because you don't work on it.
Right.
Right. And that's another thing. I don't think young people watching, understand that you do have to work on your finishes.
Yes. Well, and not the spectacular Kyrie finishes, the basic fundamental finishes first. Off left leg, right hand. Off right leg, left hand. You gotta work on that stuff first, because there will be some point in time, no matter how many Kyrie-like moves you practice, there's gonna be some point in time in the game where you got to go back to the fundamentals.
Always.
Because everything starts from the fundamentals, regardless of who you're trying to imitate.
It always comes back. Always comes full circle.
Yeah.
We said it always comes full circle, no matter what. Somehow, some way, it always comes full circle. But what I do know is that something that we know as coaches, even this next generation of basketball, we have to make sure that we instill, like, spend more time learning basketball and watching basketball the correct way. Of course,
watching entire games.
Yeah, entire games, right?
Yeah.
Not just when it's like fun because somebody just dunked on somebody, but
right.
You know, like I just watched. Oh man, I saw Bron make a fire pass to Andre Drummond, right? Andre Drummond in the paint. Talk about IQ, right? IQ, knowing that if I'm tired. I remember one time we were playing in the summer at a backyard brawl in high school. You had us playing like 10 games in like 2 days or something like that. And we were playing, and it was a day where we had 5 games in one day. And it was like in the middle of the third game. And I had a fast break, and I was going to go dunk it. And you were screaming at me, say, "Yo, don't dunk it, lay it up. You don't have the legs for that." And we got 3 more games, right? So this brings me back. That's IQ. Right? Knowing, look, all right, you got to save some energy. So I'm watching this Laker game, a little highlight. Brian dump off a pass to Andre Drummond in the paint. He go up for a dunk, and the ball just go over top of the rim. I'm like, man, I ain't gonna do it. I don't know. I'm watching. This is the same dude that got like rap videos out.
Who?
Andre Drummond. You know,
what?
Man, you should have seen when he was beefing with Joel Embiid. And, you know, Embiid always used to kill him, but Embiid put up a video of Andre Drummond doing a Dougie. Look, it's Dre Drum, you know what I'm saying? Like, but don't play that in here, man. Don't play that in here. That's what I'm saying. But I'm sorry, that just took me off because, you know, I'm a Laker guy. It hurt my feelings. Drum. Yeah. Look. High IQ players, man. But let's talk. We talk about respect. We talked about Chris Paul and Melo. This is the OG thing, right? Talking about respect. You and I, one of the things that we always said is, you know, sometimes we need to have more of those conversations as a community with each other, older or younger,
right?
Just to clear up some things. Because a lot of us are out here trying to figure it out on our own, refusing to listen. Because there are some people trying to tell, and other people is that just ignorant. They don't know any better, right? But respect for community. This is not just a basketball thing. This is just respect in general. Respect for yourself, respect for your family, just have integrity, respect for your community. And that's important, like respectful environment. But what is, you know, from your OG perspective, from the years, countless years you have spent that you're going to spend nurturing and mentoring the youth, like what do you give? What gem do you give your people when you have to reiterate why respect is important and what it looks like?
The thing that I've probably said over and over again to all the young people, boys and girls, you know, respect yourself first. Mm-hmm. And what I say by that is, you know, watch what you wear when you get ready to leave the house. You know, watch your personal hygiene. Watch some of the things that come out of your mouth. Watch how you treat other people. Watch how you approach your day-to-day tasks. Watch, you know, how you interact with other people. Just watch how you maneuver through your day and how you want to be perceived. Because, you know, the thing is now, everybody wants their own civil liberties and everything, and they want to be their own individual, but you don't understand that what you may do may have a positive or a negative effect on someone else. And it starts to snowball. It can be either good or bad. And so I try to tell everybody, project a good image, because that will be a better reflection of who you really are. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm sitting down talking to you, whether you are labeled as a bad apple or a good kid, everybody's good inside. They just need help bringing it out of them. And so I always talk about just don't be afraid to be yourself in terms of if you're having trouble with something, whether it's me or a peer or someone else that's in a higher, a different position that's a little older, whatever, don't be afraid to go talk to them and open up a little bit. But just remember that whether that person's in a good space in life, you know, you can always learn something. You know, be open to listening to other people, because, you know, kids nowadays have a little bit more than the generation before them. And that's how it's supposed to be. Like, I have more than my parents before me. And so you get to a space where, as the old people say, you're smelling yourself. You don't know, you know, nobody can tell you anything.
Heard that before.
But, you know, we can always learn something and, you know, trust me, I'm 48 years old. I'm still learning stuff every day. You know, life is an ongoing, you know, educational process. And, you know, we have kids that won't listen because they'll say, oh, look at you, you know, you're a janitor. Well, you don't know that janitor, he may not have $1 million in the bank, but as Gilly the kid said, he may have $1 million worth of game, because he may teach you some things that will keep you from being in a position that you don't want to be. And that's not to say that janitor isn't in a good position that he is happy with.
That's real.
You know,
that's real. And you talk about, and that leads you into your community, right?
Yes. Because
you got to respect what's around you, right? Because that environment that you're in, that's what's going to show you what the world is. That's your
Right.
reflection of the world, and how you treat that is how the world's going to eventually end up treating you.
Right.
Whether you get in the streets or wherever you become a citizen that is in community service, however it is. But when it comes to respect, right, that's one of those values for me that is non-negotiable, right? Like and you can, attest to that if I'm lying, but I always, but I always make it a point to say that, I value myself, right? So I will carry myself a particular way, right? But when it comes to anybody I'm interacting with, I'm never going to lie to them, right? I'll always be fair as I possibly can with things. And I'm going to stay true to my word as well, right? Now, for me, that's because that's what I would expect from somebody else, right? So whenever those things are lacking, because now at this point, like relationships, when I hit like 17, 18 and started to understand life was outside of mom's house, you're going to get out, I really started to figure out relationships were everything. Like, we're everything. Whether it's with my coaches, whether it's with the janitor at school, whether it was with the lunch lady or with a teacher, my mom, anybody else, relationships were everything. Because I would get calls from somebody that I had interacted with maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It happened just a couple of days ago. And they were talking good about me to somebody else. And that somebody else could potentially help me with something else that I never even asked for, right? And it was just the basic principle. One, what I learned from my OGs, right? Mom first. Mom always gave me the foundation. Look, don't talk that way to nobody. Everybody is a person. Don't care what it is that they have or don't have. Everybody's a person. You came on this earth the same. You're going to leave earth in the same way, right? With nothing. Right. So treat everybody like they would be treated if you were family with them. Right. So that respect thing is important. I feel like that's what's keeping us going too. Yeah. Right. Like between us, because we watch people, we have to spend a lot of time together. Right. A lot of time, whether we like it or not, we got to spend a lot of time, and we don't always agree on anything. Right. But you get to a space to where certain times, if you don't agree with somebody, sometimes you can't even tell them that without it being a real argument or something to where they disagree and it's like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah. You have that issue a lot.
Come on, man.
No, you do. I mean, I wouldn't spend a lot of time around with you if I didn't think you were a good person, but you have a hard time taking instruction.
Okay, I have a hard time, or you have a hard time? You do. You don't have a hard time?
Yeah, because you're in a place where you don't want anybody to tell you what to do. Yeah. How'd
I get here to Dubai?
It's not hard to sell Dubai. Listen, for those of you out there, somebody approaches you and says, hey, there's a great opportunity, international opportunity, and we'll say, there's one that's in Dubai, one that's in Guam. You're going to Dubai. You're not even going to hesitate. Come on, man.
I have, okay. Who leads the basketball camp, the basketball organization?
Who leads it?
Yeah.
I do.
Right. So who gives instructions to who?
I do.
All right. Well, how well are we doing right now?
Well.
Right.
Yeah. It's a battle every day, though. It's a battle. We're talking about this. We're talking about how you receive information sometimes, right. And instead of you saying sometimes like, okay, let's go. Sometimes like, but why? And I'm like, we're in the heat of the battle right now. I don't have time to sit here and explain it to you. Let's just do it, man. You should trust me enough now to just say, let me just do it. And then I look at how you kind of like deliver instructions down to Ethan. I don't like your tone sometimes because I'm serious. You take my positive energy and convert that to negative energy and throw it out Ethan sometimes,
put some
man.
respect on my name.
Come on,
you
man.
You understand me? When y'all saying my name, put some respect.
Ethan, don't be afraid to back me up on this.
I know that a lot of this backlash is because I didn't hit the record button. So I'm gonna let them bust my chops for a little bit longer.
But I'm not even busting your chops. I'm just making a statement.
This is just like when you tried to tell me last episode I wasn't OG because you thought I called myself an OG.
No, I didn't.
And I showed you the pictures of being called it.
I asked you a question.
A young OG.
I asked you a question.
Yeah. We got the playbacks, you know. I got the receipts though, right? I had the receipts that said that I didn't call myself that. There was, you know, people calling me that, right?
Sometimes people make mistakes.
I get it. I get it.
That's all.
But we do want to, you know, we took a little turn there, but it is important for people to understand what that respect is, right? And the respect doesn't just come from you demanding it. You know, Coach King, you know, he got our respect early when I met him. And it wasn't because he told me, oh, you're going to respect me. But it was through time that, you know, we knew he was a man of his word, through action. When it came to basketball, we knew he had game, you know. And then over the years, as you know, as much of a pest he might have been for some of us, you know, he was always there. He was always there, and he was always kicking it the same way. And you know, that's something that trickles down too. So the way you respect yourself, as Coach said, is going to be the reflection of how the world is going to take you too. So cherish that. And, you know, make that something that's more important than what your next Instagram post is or whatever else is going to be. Like, really hone down on that, because, you know, your relationships are all that matter, right? Because it's the only thing. People get to where they're going to go with other people. So respect that. But to wrap it up, we got to get into your thing, your hometown thing, your element, you know, historical Black colleges and universities, right? You know, for some of our UAE listeners in the States, in the US, we have a set group of colleges and universities that were created specifically to support African Americans in their ascension into academia and growing their education. You know, it was formed in result of segregation and those Jim Crow laws and those things, to where we know Black people weren't even allowed to go to school, let alone go to college as a higher education. But, you know, I believe, was it Booker T?
Yeah.
It was Booker T and Washington and some of our greats, they galvanized and started to form schools around the world, not around the world, around the country, to where African Americans could go and study. And it wasn't just only African Americans. If you were white and you wanted to go, you could. It was your choice.
It was open to anybody.
It opened to anybody, but this is one to where we were included. Over the years, it's lost its glamour academically, as so to speak. Funding has been down. It's not something as prestigious as people would say, even though I think prestige is just a marketing term. It doesn't really hold up any weight. But you know, it's losing its luster. But as of late, you know, like we've heard, Maker, one of Thon's Maker's brothers, went to Howard. You know, it was a top, you know, it was a 5-star recruit, went to Howard University, which was big for them.
Huge.
You know, you had the young guy, Mikey, who's like maybe a sophomore in high school now, who said he was going to go to an HBCU or at least consider one. And then you had Master P's son committing to Tennessee State University. We'll give a round of applause for that. And then also Shaquille O'Neal's son, who just committed to Texas Southern. So you being a product of, you know, you actually had experience with both the PWI and the HBCU. You know, what was the allure to HBCU like during that time? You know, I'm not talking Uncle Luke, but what was the allure like? You know, like that different world TV show type of energy. You know, like that ground. What was the allure like, and then where do you think it's lacking now? Where should it go?
The allure for me to go to Coppin State in Baltimore, Maryland, was one, for me to have an opportunity to be in a family-like atmosphere with people that looked like me. Not to say that there weren't African Americans at Temple University, because there's a lot, but I wanted to get back to the African American experience. And the HBCUs, no matter what people say about them losing their luster and things like that, but it's a family-like atmosphere. It's close-knit because they're small in student population. And, you know, that's something I wanted to experience, man. And, you know, and I thought what would be better than me graduating from HBCU and then having an opportunity to go back and help the school and help my community. And, it was a sense of self-pride, because once before, generations before, when you graduated from HBCU, it was a really, really big deal, not just because you're graduating from college, but because you're graduating from an African-American institution. And that's primarily ran and operated by African-Americans. And so, what bigger sense of pride than having that, in the United States, where we all know it's a great country, one of the greatest countries in the world, but we all know that it has this, problem stemming from racism and things like that. And so, this was an opportunity for you to, level the playing field, but do it your way. Mm-hmm. And so, that was one of the reasons I wanted to go there.
What was like amongst your peers? What was that talk like? Even if they were from North Carolina A&T mm-hmm. or Tuskegee or Cheney or whatever other ones that you went to, like, what was that like as a whole? Like, was that like HBCU family too? Because, everybody talks about the CIAA tournament and all those different type things. But, is that like a family within the family as well?
Yeah. Anytime we were on the court, we were rivals, mm-hmm. But off the court, it didn't matter if you went to Morgan State, I went to Coppin State, you went to Maryland Eastern Shore, you went to Howard, you went to FAMU. We were all friends, mm-hmm. all family, and that's just, we all knew that we were up against something that was mightier than all of us individually, but together we could conquer it. Mm-hmm. And that is just getting a quality education in a system that is, that was designed to keep us at a certain level. And we all knew that regardless of what school we went to, we had to push each other, So, I give an example. It didn't matter if your school was the MEAC champion and you're going to the NCAA tournament. We all rooted for you.
Right.
That's just because you were representing us. Mm-hmm. So, you guys made it. We all made it.
Right. It's a time now to where talk about equity, people building value, people getting their fair share. So, majority of basketball, football too, African American, right? The league stars are us. How do we balance that playing field? Like, how do HBCUs, if they can, compete? Like, what needs to happen for HBCUs to get that top tier talent on the court and off the court? Like, is there something within the structure that's off that you know of, or that could change and shift things gradually going forward?
Yeah. Well, one of the the main problems that I observed and experienced was that too often, and this happens in every culture, don't get me wrong, but too often when someone gets in a high position in certain schools, they tend to think that, one, I'm okay now, I'm cool, I'm good, my work is done, I'm here, that's it. And they tend to forget the hard work that they needed to do to get there. And they tend to forget that there are many others behind you trying to get where you are. So you need to set the example for them to continue to lead the way. Second thing, a lot of times people would say, this is just a stepping stone for me. I want to go to Clemson. Bigger university, bright lights, more money, more prestige. So they're always looking at the other house. Yeah. The grass is greener over there. Instead of realizing that while I'm here, let me make this the best that I can make it, and then moving on if I have the opportunity. But, it's hard because there's so many different pressures that everybody goes through that makes them react differently. A friend of mine, we were talking recently. One of my former college coaches, good friend of mine, was just recently released from a school, HBCU. And we think it was almost with no merit. It was just a regime change at the top. And so they just made sweeping moves and, and made changes. And so my thing is that in order to progress the entire school, you got to have some stability.
Mm-hmm.
If there's constant change, it's going to be tough for people in those authoritative positions to thrive because everything changes from day to day. And so I just think that for the HBCUs, we have to find people that don't mind seeing themselves at one university at a particular level for many, many years in order to build a foundation to keep the school going forward. And I think that's just the number one thing.
Yeah, no, that's big because there's everything else that's there, right?
Yeah.
There's the allure that, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That energy on campus is unmatched. Some people, I think I even watched Chris Webber an interview with All the Smoke, and he talked about when he went maybe to Michigan or Michigan State, one of those visits, he went to HBCUs that were around there and was partying.
Right.
Like, I can go here and still get my fix there. So there's a lot of allure there, but foundation is big on everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter what you're putting together, if there's a crack in the foundation, it's going to fall eventually, somehow, some way. So, you got to put that together. Do you think there's room for it though? Do you think that it's going to happen in the next 10 years? Is it going to elevate?
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, and the reason I say this is because, we talked about getting the right people, the HBCUs also have to understand the people in those positions, like myself or older, have to understand we need people like you sitting in certain positions as well, helping us make those decisions to move the university 10 years forward because we're stuck in our old ways as well. We don't know what we don't know.
Bridge the gap.
Yeah. And that's, you see too many HBCUs still doing the same thing they did 20 years ago.
Right.
Things change.
Yeah.
Times change, kids change, curriculum changes, and so you got to be progressive and you can do those things without having tons of money. You just have to be creative. You have to have the work ethic in terms of being a hustler to get it done, because it's not just about you.
And you've talked about that plenty of times. Adjustments.
Yep.
Right? That basketball is the greatest metaphor for life, right? We're talking about how to make sure HBCUs grow, evolve, sustain, and continue to nurture our youth and give our young Black men and women something to be proud of, right? Something to poke their chest out about. Yep. You got to make adjustments like the rest of the world has, right? So, it's going to be interesting to watch the growth of that these next 5-6 years or so. I don't think this will be the last time we'll have to bring up HBCUs, especially since I know, and I know you got a couple of stories in the tuck about your experience at Coppin State that we'll get to because story time with King is always a must see. But this is going on hour 2 for us. Again, I got to chalk that one up to me, but another great episode. You guys know how we wrap it up. Always the post-game wrap-up. Before that, remember, if you're in the UAE, check in with us, tap in, hit us up. Hoopmountain.ae on Instagram, Hoopmountain.ae online. Hoop Star Shootout, our second one, part 2. The footage of those things will be out if they aren't already. Don't miss out on another one. As we grow, we're only going to get bigger. Shout out to Moe's Burgers, big time sponsor, my friend, our peer basketball guy who may be on the pod soon for giving us the opportunity to partner and giving our young hoop stars who stood out a new reward. Best burgers and shakes in Dubai by far. So much more to come. So shout out to Moe's Burgers as well. But post-game wrap-up, mine is easy. Players mess up. Players mess up. It happens. Just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Own up to it. Be accountable. Wash your hands with it. Get creative. Keep it moving.
I like that. I like that. You've inspired me for mine. You've inspired me for my wrap up, which is preparation is key. Preparation is key. Think about the things that you want to do. You got to visualize them.
Right. Which we've done a great job because remember, this was a vision a year and a half ago.
Yeah. But you gotta do the little things, the little minute things that add up to your vision. Which, one of those things would be getting a chance to put all of your thoughts on paper and have a checklist every time that you're supposed to execute something. So that way you don't waste valuable time and resources doing the same thing over and over again when you could have taken care of it the first time.
Yeah.
Accidents happen, things happen. But remember, everybody, checklists, key to preparation.
And on that note,
push the button.
And on that note, good night, good morning, good afternoon. Keep it real. Keep it simple. Keep going.